Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Portland International Raceway. 6 races remain in the 2023 AT&T Champ Car World Series season. We're live from Portland, Oregon, and the IndyCar World Championship continues here on ABN Sports. We welcome you to a fun afternoon of racing coming up here. 100 laps of racing set to take part in today's event. As it has been for most of the season, Sakura Ishibashi dominant on Saturday. Does it transition to a successful race on Sunday? The last 2 races in Toronto said yes. Ishibashi's first 2 wins in Cat Devil Racing colors came in Canada. Now back in the United States, but on the Pacific Northwest side of the country, Ishibashi looking to go 3 in a row. No one's done that so far this season, including her championship-leading teammate Kuni Kinoshita, who's only won 2 races in a row. Kenosha's won 6 races in the season so far, but Ishibashi looking to set new ground late in the season as her comeback charge continues in the championship standings. Alongside of her is the Polish Eagle, Alicia Kowalkiewicz, another good qualifying position here on road courses for Kowalkiewicz for Cherokee GP. What does that mean for that team going into this race? It is a very interesting race. We'll see how all of it stands through going into this afternoon. The World Championship leader, Kuni Kinoshita, sitting in row 2 alongside 2014 World Champion Mia Valdez. Cat Devil Racing 1, 3, and 4 at the front of the field. Thomas Rogers, the Panasonic Team Impulse car, sitting in row 3 alongside Evangeline Porter. Nicole Lechty, race winner at Pocono and Phillip Island, sat on the podium twice in Toronto, looking to do a little better, but has to go from row 4 on the grid. Lechty's alongside Natalia Velicevic, Siri Lundqvist, and Artem Kozlov make up the top 10. 30 cars in this field tonight, all the way through the field. We'll sort of pick and choose who we're going to focus on as we sort of peruse through this field. We went through the top 10. Andrew Draco, another good qualifying performance. After finishing well in the second race in Toronto, Draco finished in the top 5 last time out there over on the East Coast. He'll be sharing the 6th row of the field alongside his teammate there for Dragon Motorsports, Cameron Jackson. Those two having a really good qualifying performance there yesterday. BK Glover and Wyatt Jones in row 7. Elise Alexander and Simona LaRoe in row 8. Row 9, you'll see Esther Hofson and Asada Quito, Mateus Michelin, and Katrina Ochoa in row 10. Ochoa, her best qualifying performance this season, bar none. So Ochoa with the Scuderia Gia behind in that top 20, the 36 car in 20th. Astrid Crane, Keisha Fox in row 11. Row 12, Kage Kobayashi and Marcus Petrovic. Vanter Racing sharing a row once again. Row 12 this time for them. Bianca Lucero and Maria Damata in row 13. Row 14 is Natalia Kurachenko. Next rally, a bad qualifying performance for Kurachenko, who was announced to be heading to the Champ Car Challenger Series in 2024. Kurachenko shares that 14th row with Rex Riley. Shinichi Kamaya and Anastasius von Sonnen make up the last row of this 15-row field, 30 cars here in Portland. The first time we've been back in Portland in over a decade. This is a smaller track. It is a very fast, very demanding track, though. A little under 2 miles in length is a lap here around the Portland International Raceway. But it's a fan favorite and a driver favorite. It's a driver's track. A lot of drivers have loved being back in Portland for the first time in over 10 years. Not many drivers have been in Portland in the Champ Car World Series. You have to look back to Mia Valdez, a driver that was last year, as well as obviously 3-time world champion Steffi Porter-Kelly, who was announced to be returning to the series next year. She gets to race here at Portland next year. Kuni Kinoshita did not ever get to race at Portland, but has so far done well, bringing back that red and black Fujitsu machine for the number 18 here. It's almost time for the most famous words in motorsports. We'll send it trackside for the command, and we'll rejoin for the formation lap.
Drivers, start your engines.
You heard the formation there. The famous words in motorsports. Now 30 cars will begin rolling. Abbreviated formation lap. They're on the back straightaway already. We're going to get to racing here in Portland very shortly. 30 cars, led by Sakura Ishibashi and by Alicia Kovalkiewicz. 6 races to go in the championship here in 2023. We head from Portland to Watkins Glen, from one fan favorite to another. We're excited to be heading to New York once again. And then it's Denver, Nazareth, Night City, and Fontana to end out the season. Chevy Camaro ZL1 pace car in pit lane, and the crawl to the green flag continues here. Green flag in the air, and we are racing here in Portland. Into turn 1, the chicane of turn 1, and Kovalkiewicz dominates the opening corners, as does Mia Valdez. Ishibashi down to third as they roll through. Kenosha getting passed by Porter as they all make their way through the first couple corners. Everyone cycling their way through. There is Sada Quito getting some really good momentum going into the corner. Hobson in that BWT number 28. There is the 11 of Alexander in that FedEx machine, getting passed not only by Simona Leroux in the Red Bull Highlight Racing machine, but almost by Quito as well. There's Draco, who's lost several spots. But away we go. A little bit of grass flying up there in the last corner. Trouble there for, that is the 69 of Lundqvist, who qualified once again in that 69 machine. Getting passed there by the Airbus number 3 of Artyom Kozlov. Bit of a mix together between the Cherokee and the Team Impulse machines. Closer to the front of the field. It is Kovalkiewicz. Race winner for the first time this season at Chicagoland, leading the way over Mia Valdez. Sakura Ishibashi, the pole sitter, in third, got really jumped on that opening lap start. Then it's Porter, then Kenosha. Then it's Rogers, Lechty, Filicevic. Then you have Kozlov, Lundqvist, and then Glover ahead of fellow Texan Cameron Jackson. There's Wyatt Jones bringing back the Menards colors. Sitting in the number 25 car tonight. Doing a pretty decent job at the moment as things currently run. Wyatt Jones sitting in the 13th position. Up a spot already from where he started this race. Started this race in 14th. The 3-time NAMRA Cup Series champion. Up a spot. Andrew Draco, one of the bigger losers so far in the opening lap melee. Kozlov and Lundqvist 9th and 10th there. The fringe of the top 10 for them. Glover trying to get into the top 10 here in Portland. And Wyatt Jones sitting right there. Then you have Simona Leroux. There is Andrew Draco sitting in that number 20 machine. This Alexander. Then Asada Quito. Ahead of Mateus Michelin there as we sort of peruse throughout the field. Ochoa up his position, up to 19th, ahead of Astor Crane. Just inside the top 20 there is Esther Hobson, who typically does well at these sort of events. Was struggling early on. There is Keisha Fox struggling mightily in that first chicane. Miranda Mata tried to make a pass through, and it didn't work. One driver off the pace here. I believe that is the 42 of Kobayashi. And it is the 42 of Kobayashi. No, it's the 21 of Petrovic. My apologies. It is the 21 of Petrovic that is off pace. Kobayashi, the one that is ahead for Commentator Racing at the moment. Kobayashi sitting in the 24th position. Petrovic now in 30th, but all 30 cars still running. As there's the race leader, Alicia Kovalkiewicz. A little over 60 seconds a lap. The primary compound tire on these cars. Looking out wide as we navigate our way through one of the tighter sections of the racetrack here. Kovalkiewicz ahead of Valdez, Valdez ahead of Ishibashi, but all three of them pacing the field ahead of Evangeline Porter and Kuni Kinoshita. Kinoshita, the championship leader, at the bottom of your screen. 433 points scored so far this season. Obviously with 6 races to go, including today. Nicole Lechty only 20 points behind, gained a significant amount there last week at Toronto. Lechty just behind Kinoshita as well. Looking, there's Thomas Rogers on your screen, sitting in the 6th position at the moment, ahead of Lechty. Lechty down in 7th. So a lot of time to make some things happen. There's Natalia Velicevic, who has taken over the lead in the Rookie of the Year battle over Artyom Kozlov. Kozlov just behind there. There's a 3. The silver nose of Kozlov's number 3 machine in the top 10 pretty firmly as well. Then you have Siri Lundqvist in the 10th spot ahead of BK Glover. As you just sort of peruse through the field here, Kovalkiewicz already back across the final corner and towards start-finish line now. Open up a little over a second gap over Valdez and Ishibashi. Porter in 4th, Kinoshita in 5th. Top 5 still within 3 seconds of the race leader, as Ishibashi beginning to apply the pressure to Valdez. And there's Porter just ahead of Kinoshita. Longtime rivals, longtime friends, battling for 4th place here on the track here in Portland. From one hairpin to another. There's Rogers and Lechty. Ooh, Kinoshita went wide there in the last corner. Lost a little bit of time there on Porter. Tell you what, Valdez has answered the call by Kinoshita, beginning to open up the pressure a little bit. Trying to respond to Ishibashi's pressure and the pace being set currently by Kovalkiewicz. He's closed down 2/10 there. Already on to lap 8 here in Portland. You see Petrovic there, last car on the timer, 30th place at the moment, not where the Serbian driver wanted to be. Eastern Europe bookending the field at the moment. Poland at the top, Serbia at the bottom. You got Slovenian drivers, Bosnian drivers mingled in between, as well as a couple Russian drivers in the mix. Huge European contingency in the series, as well as those from Japan. Kovalkiewicz still leading the way, as a bit of 10th back up there on Valdez in this battle at the front of the field. Top 5 pretty close. Rogers wanting to insert himself into this battle for the top 5, as does Nicole Lechty, sitting a little further back. Then you have the 13 of Velicevic staying ahead of Kozlov and Lundqvist. Glover in 11th, and it's Jackson, Jones, LaRoe, and Draco, your top half in this field. Field spreading out pretty nicely here in the early goings of this race. Gap at the front of the field now back down once again to 0.8 of a second. You see there's where Petrovic is, just trying to hold on. This is a short lap, comparatively speaking, especially when you look at next week's race in Watkins Glen. The field's still pretty well tightly packed together, minus Petrovic, who had an off-track excursion there, I believe in turn 3 on the opening lap. Obviously, no caution came out for that. It was a single car incident off track. There is the 76 of Anastasius von Sonnen, the Austrian driver. Von Sonnen up to the 27th position, started this race on the last row of the grid in 30th. There's Kurchenko. There is Kamaya, who also started in the last row, up several spots. Kamaya up to the 25th position, behind this driver right here, Kage Kobayashi. And then Maria Damata, following Keisha Fox and Esther Hobson. That rounds out your bottom 10. 20th earmarked by Astrid Crane, the Allison Alien. Then Katrina Ochoa up a spot. Started this race in 20th, up to 19th for Escuderia Guia, trying to chase down the second, the middle sitting striker driver of Mateus Michelin. There's Asada Quito just behind. Currently the highest placed striker motorsports driver in Elise Alexander. Then you have Andrew Drake, we mentioned was 15th place, has been losing touch there with the 77 of Simona Leroux. And that has not changed significantly here in the early going. Wyatt Jones trying to close in there on Cameron Jackson. Jackson has lost touch with Glover, who is now in this fight for 10th with Siri Lundqvist. Trying to make some moves happen, but again, primary tires, they wear out slower. They have less initial grip, so it takes a little bit longer for things to get up to where they want to be in that primary compound strategy call. Expecting about 3 stops in this race. They were looking about 25 laps of fuel stint here at Portland. Obviously, fuel mileage is a very important role of this. 70 liters, or about 18.5 gallons of fuel in these Champ Car machines. This is a very fast track, comparatively speaking. A lot of full throttle driving, as well as a lot of high acceleration points around this track, especially the last corner, especially through this chicane right here, getting back on the throttle. A lot of huge acceleration. You burn fuel a little bit quicker here than you do at some places. Engines run just a little bit higher than they do at other locations. Petrovic 50 seconds away from the leader as far as the timing is showing, basically about 11 seconds ahead of where the leader currently is, and in terms of being lapped, Petrovic will be struggling to stay on the lead lap here as we look at Lundqvist, who has pulled away pretty handily from Glover this lap. Glover had a really good run a couple laps in a row, but Lundqvist has responded nicely, but still sits miles away from Kozlov. And then there's what could be an interesting battle as this race progresses. Velicevic almost lost it there in the opening corner of the lap. Very tricky, and the tires, you can tell, are beginning to fall away here. 14 laps into this first run It's been caution-free so far. Lefty trying to catch up there to Rogers, going through the hairpins here. Very tight. First sector of the lap, then it really opens up for the entire second half of the lap. A lot of high speed here. Lefty trying to reel in Thomas Rogers. Battle for fourth, still raging on between Porter and Kinoshita. Next to the championship leader sitting in the 5th position. Porter is 7th in points. Sitting in 4th, trying to gain a little bit. Would gain not a whole lot here, only 2 points compared to where Kenosha is right now. But a gain's a gain. Any chance you have a chance to really lead the world champion across our finish line is a good opportunity there. But they've really lost touch here with the top 3. There's Ishibashi, who's lost touch with Valdez a little bit. And Kovalkiewicz sitting comfortably out front as this race goes on. Pace will slow down just a little bit, just by about a second. Fastest lap was a 1:01 by Kovalkiewicz. Now in the 1:02s, the low 1:02s. So losing a little, almost about a second. I'd say a little bit less than a second at the moment. But still looking fantastic so far. Kovalkiewicz has led every lap, started this race on the front row, but not in pole position. Outbroke Ishibashi into the first corner, as did Valdez. Ishibashi taking it very easy. Sort of reminiscent now, Ishibashi took the opening corners in Toronto. The last race. Lefty led most of that race in Toronto, that second round in Toronto. But it was strategy that helped get Ishibashi back to the front of the field and into a second straight win on the streets of Toronto. Hoping that maybe something similar happens here today. It's been pretty well clear though as we finish lap 16. 84 laps remain in this race. Kovalkiewicz leads them all so far. And you saw that there is Petrovic entering turn 3 there, and then there is Kovalkiewicz. So the race leader is coming up on traffic here imminently, with Petrovic now 57 seconds adrift. And just trying to stay there on the up. Looks like a little damage there on the front wing there of Petrovic in his excursion through the grass. Riley already crossed our finish line. We see Mountain sort of take a wide shot here at Portland International Raceway. This Ishibashi, 3rd place at the moment, the pole sitter, staying in touch with the race leaders. And down the long front straightaway towards turn 1 now. Just browsing and perusing. There's Draco in 15th on an island ahead of Elise Alexander and Asada Quito. Then you have Michelin, Katrina Ochoa. Then you have Astrid Crane. There is Esther Hofson. Then Keisha Fox. Just outside the top 20 there. And Petrovic in deep trouble there. There's the race leader just behind that 21 car. Kovalkiewicz leads this race, has led every single lap so far. Valdez has dropped to 1.4 seconds adrift. Ishibashi 2.3 behind the race leader at the moment. You see all 3 of them approaching the final couple corners here in Portland. Again, exciting pit stops here. About lap 25 is what we've seen the number look like here. Kovacevic continues to lead the way. That Oculus, number 96. Kovacevic just recently pinned an extension to her time in Cherokee GP. Kovacevic will now stay on the team until 2026. 3-year extension there for Kovacevic for Cherokee GP, which will become Arrowhead Racing next year. The team did not have the wherewithal to really fight last year in the abbreviated season, but has come out swinging pretty hard in 2023. Again, a race win at Chicagoland at the hands of Kovacevic as Petrovic comes in early. Interesting call there for Petrovic, but again, wounded car there for Petrovic. Realized that that was a losing battle. But do others take that call to come in a little bit sooner than that lap 25 mark? Lap 25 makes this a 3-stop race. Do some drivers think that 4 stops is the way to go? We'll find out. The lap traffic did hold up Kovacevic a little bit. The gap went down by half from 1.4 seconds to less than a second, 7/10. Buying some drivers time. Petrovic now from the lap down on pit lane. Could gain something out of it though. We'll see. Again, top 3 on an island all by themselves. There's Porter and there is Kinoshita as the top 3 stay out here. There's Porter again defending the inside lane out of the last corner. Kinoshita going a little bit wider. Yeah. Rogers, there's Lechty, there is Velicevic, there's Kozlov, and then the 69 of Lundqvist in the top 10. Still as they currently run. So we're just browsing and perusing through the field as they run through the first sector. It looks like the 21 of Petrovic still in pit lane at the moment. So very interesting how that's developed there. Lucero's also, I believe, had something happen here. I'm not sure if Lucero's made a pit stop or not, but Lucero now in 29th. Interesting to see what's turned of that so far. Lucero's not gone a lap down, so it's not been a pit stop. Give me 1 second to see here. I'm gonna double check here and look. There is Petrovic back on track. So the car in pit lane was Lucero. So Lucero did make a pit stop there on lap 21. Because Petrovic already back again just in front of the race leaders. So slower pit stop there, trying to repair some of the damage on Petrovic's car. They must have seen something a little bit more than the front wing damage. Some of the cars further back in the field have made a pit stop here. And in comes Valdez. Valdez comes in a lap early. But not alone in that. There's Porter in pit lane, as is Lechty. So the first round of pit stops have occurred for some of the race leaders, which means the window is firmly open. Again, it's all about trying to get to lap 25 if possible. A lot of the midfield staying out here. There's Alexander, there's Quito, there is Michelin, Crane, Hofson, and others stay out. Von Sonnen, one of those that came in. There is the 96 of Kovacevic still leading the way. Ishibashi comes in. Kovacevic stays out another lap, trying to really cut a pit stop out of this, if possible. Lap 24 underway now. Again, some drivers hedging their bets that a fourth stop's going to be necessary here. Not happy with what they're seeing tire wear wise. This is a more aged surface. This is going to be very counter to what we're going to see at Watkins Glen, where it's just been freshly repaved. So obviously going to look a little bit different. Kenosha also staying out. Kenosha in the 18 now up to second. Then it's Vulicevic in third. A lot of cars down pit lane. Does Kovacevic stay out another lap here, or come in to try to cover off Ishibashi and Mia Valdez? Kovacevic does come in pit lane this time. There is Ochoa, there's Kenosha. Second place in pit lane now, as is Vulicevic. Vulicevic in pit lane now as well. Glover in pit lane. There's Jackson, there's Jones. Some of the cars that came in earlier making their way back around. Look to see where everyone's at here. There is Ishibashi ahead of Mia Valdez, but teammates will go at it in the final quarter, and Valdez gets the advantage. Or so we think, side by side, down the front straightaway. Drag race to turn one. They stay ahead of Kenosha. And Ishibashi takes second place away. Gamesmanship between the teammates. There is Kovacevic still ahead, and firmly so. The overcut worked. But Ishibashi and Valdez on hotter tires. They are warmed up completely. We saw that in that battle. Kenosha's been jumped by Nicole Lechty. So Kenosha outside the top 5 now. And leapfrogged by her main championship opponent in Lechty. Big moves there. Again, Porter front of this group, just outside the podium places, 4th and 5th. Right now belong to Porter and Lechty. And these two know what it's like to fight each other. The Slovenian sniper and the Iron Maiden going for 4th place here. And they are not far away from that podium battle with Ishibashi and Valdez. They're in the same sight line. But Lechty knows that this is a good chance to take advantage of the misstep by Kenosha's strategy call. Kenosha stayed out longer. Trying to keep tabs there on Kovacevic. Kovacevic still leading every lap of this race so far. But Kenosha losing a step as Lechty closes in on Porter. Porter's held the top 4 most of this race. Lechty trying to get one step closer to the podium once again. Finished second in the last race in Toronto. Has a mountain to climb to make that happen again today. But the racing continues on here in Portland. The first round of pit stops all the way through and completed. Kovacevic leads Ishibashi, Valdez, Porter, and Lechty, your top 5. Your World Championship leader, Kini Kenosha, sitting in 6th, center of your screen at the moment. We're going to step aside for our first commercial break. Non-stop coverage continues here on ABN 1 here in Portland. Welcome back, everyone. ABN 1 covering the Methanex Grand Prix of Portland. Race 15 to 20 in the AT&T Champ Car World Series season in 2023. We saw there an ABN non-stop. Looking at that battle that we saw between Cameron Jackson and Wyatt Jones. Now looking at this battle for the top 5 between Nicole Lechty and Cuny Kinoshita. The Iron Maiden leading this fight. Lechty leading the way, following her former mentor, Evangeline Porter. Porter in 4th, Lechty 5th, Kinoshita in the top 6. Lechty and Kinoshita battling for the championship big time, as they did a little bit last year before the pandemic shut everything down. That battle really raging on now, following the effects of Portland. And really extending on from Pocono, where Lechty really put her season back on track, winning at Pocono. Lechty really trying to make a swing at the championship fight right now. 20 points separate the two. It's a very manageable gap. After tonight, it's 5 races to go. Watkins Glen, Denver, not in that order. It's Denver next week. And then Watkins Glen, the Nazareth, Night City, and Fontana in California end off the season. We go from West Coast back to the East Coast, then back to the West Coast again to end off the season. This is the battle for the 4th position. You see Thomas Rogers a little further back, out of touch here of this battle as things currently stand. Before our first commercial break, we saw the battle there at the front of the field. And pit stops going through all of it at the moment. Ishibashi got ahead of Mia Valdez for the 2nd position. Ishibashi now trying to take it back towards Kovalkiewicz, looking to win her 3rd win in a row after sweeping the streets of Toronto, both race 1 and race 2 there in Canada. Sitting about a second shy of that at the moment as things stand. So keep an eye on this battle for the 4th position. They've all both caught up to Evangeline Porter there. There's Rogers trying to get his way closer as well. So the pace coming and going on these primary Firestone tires. Lechty almost tried to send it there on the exit of that hairpin. Really trying to take it to Porter. Obviously former mentor and protege pairing here, but also former teammates for Black Rose Racing when Lechty first jumped into the series in 2017. Losing a little bit of time there on Porter, now under threat of Kinoshita. Kinoshita, last season's world champion in the Champ Car World Series, but also a former Grand Prix world champion over in the world of Formula One. Really trying to make her mark and cement a potential dynasty in the face of a lot of competition. Cat Racing at one point were the rulers of the Indianapolis 500. That has since gone to Team Impulse. Big rival team there for Cat Devil Racing. Team Impulse have won the last 3 Indianapolis 500s. Cat Devil Racing have not won a 500-mile race since 2017. So it's been a while since they've had that dominance on the big crown jewels as far as the ovals have been concerned, but championship success has come pretty well once again for the Kyoto-based team. But you can see now Rogers in this mix as well. Rogers also now not out of the championship fight yet. That 2 car looking awfully competitive right now so far as things run. Rogers here in the 6th position. Spent a lot of the season's top 2 in the championship, just recently surpassed by Lechty. So big championship motivations here across the board throughout the rest of the bottom half of this top 5 and just outside of it. Again, Kenosha 6, Rogers in the 7th position. And then Velisevich not far away either in 8th. On track at the moment. And here comes Rogers attacking Kinoshita. Kinoshita having to focus a little bit more in the mirrors and not out in front of that windscreen through the last couple corners here in Portland. Gap at the front of the field is 9/10 of a second. It's not really closed in at all between Kovacevic and Ishibashi. Vulicevic from the end of this fight now. 5 cars clustered together. Porter, Lecty, center of your screen, Kinoshita. Then Rogers, and then there's Vulicevic. Interesting fight developing here. Firmly into this run, there is Lecty trying to look in the outside lane of that first hairpin. Now looking towards the second hairpin here. Very tight corner. Back full throttle through the back half of this racetrack. Flick chicane before the last corner. Really bringing this lap together. Kenosha now on the inside lane of that last corner, trying to close it on Lecty. They are pretty far separated there from the rest of the top 10, but from Kozlov and Siri Lundqvist there in 10th. PK Glover 11th. 12th, 13th, Cameron Jackson and Wyatt Jones. Draco back up to 14th place, gotten ahead of a couple of drivers there. That's Petrovic who's in front of Simona Leroux. Entering turn 1. There's Alexander, there's the 36 of Katrina Ochoa. Ochoa has moved up 3 spots from the start of this race, from the 20th position on the start to 17th. There's Osada Quito, the Kanika Minolta, number 86 for Obsidian Racing Team, sitting in 18th place. And then Asher Crane, 19th, Michelin 20th. This is where it's going to get really interesting, because there is the race leader. There's Kovacevic, and you just saw the next 2 cars about to go a lap down. Rex Riley for Fortune Racing and Bianca Lucero for Obsidian Racing Team. A couple of Chevrolets about to go a lap down here. This is really kind of helped Ishibashi close in a little bit. Gap is about 7/10 last lap. The dirty air really kind of affecting Kovacevic's car. Kovacevic has had clean air all race long so far up to this point. Leading now 38 laps in a row. As the fight continues on. We're on lap 39 of 100. Here is Kovacevic trying to find a way around the 88 of Lucero. This is really allowing Ishibashi and Valdez to close back in on this fight for the race lead, as Kovacevic struggling to find a way around some of the traffic here. Approaching turn 1. It's easier attacking the 21 of Petrovic, because Petrovic was wounded at the time. These 2 cars are not, so it's a little bit harder, and you're seeing that in this fight. Not 40 out of 100. Sitting underway here. Here comes Lucero, about to be passed by Kovacevic, who had to go the long way around. Out towards the marbles here on the back straightaway. But puts a car between herself and Ishibashi, crucially. Buying herself some time to get around Rex Riley now. Here we go. Down the front straightaway once again. Ishibashi not going to be nearly as patient, I don't believe. But not as brave on the brakes there. And how cooperative will Mia Valdez be? That would be an interesting question to answer. Because Valdez would love to have a position, really a chance to get back on the podium for the first time in a champion competition since she won her World Championship in 2014. Ishibashi attacking. Trying to attack the 88 of Lucero. Here comes side by side racing for second place between Ishibashi and Valdez. This is going to be very tight racing once again between the teammates. Ishibashi holds on to second place, but just. Kovacevic still being frustrated by Riley. These drivers, not only are they battling to stay on the lead lap, but they're battling each other in the case of Lucero and Riley, so there's no intention for either of them to really let go of where they're fighting right now. You really don't want to give a chance, especially if you're Riley, to let Lucero catch back up. Here comes another battle for second. This time, they've inverted lanes with the 16 of Valdez getting to the right-hand side of Ishibashi. Valdez was on the left-hand side before. To the first hairpin. Ishibashi trying to attack. Lucero on the outer lane. Ishibashi goes through. Valdez trying to assert herself and try to put herself ahead. Very similar looking cars. It is Lucero in the Motorola machine. 16 of Valdez in the Embraer machine. Chevrolet versus Honda. Not for position, but trying to really hold on to this fight for Lucero, between Lucero and Rex Riley, who is still holding up the race leader. There's Ishibashi now firmly in second. Valdez knows that there's still an opportunity to really catch up to the top two, but she's got to get around the 88 of Lucero. And there's Porter. There's Lechty. There is Kinoshita. About to be a fight here between Kinoshita and Lechty down the back straightaway. Here we go. Really good fight down the back straightaway. Championship rivals. Lechty and getting hard on the brakes. Really holding up Kinoshita here in the final corner. Huge move here. They've let Porter go through. Porter's gone to pit lane. Pit lane's open here. And it's a way shorter window, too, than the opening lap. They made it to about lap 25 on that first window. Nowhere close to 50 here. Whoa, trouble. That is Velisevich that's gone around in turn one. And the caution has come out. And that changes a lot. And the wherewithal of this battle. Because there's Ishibashi racing to the finish line. It is green until you cross start finish. And Ishibashi just took the race lead away from Kovacevic, stuck behind Rex Riley. This is why Riley was fighting so hard to stay on the lead lap. Because Riley will stay on the lead lap firmly. And importantly, in this process, Ishibashi takes the lead of this race, but, and there's a huge but to it, Evangeline Porter managed to be one of the first leaders to come in and stand a chance to gain a lot in the position fight. Huge dividends here as the field tries to work its way around the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 pace car. Huge dividends here for Ishibashi, but could be even greater gains for Evangeline Porter, who had that first pit stop. Pit lane closed for the leaders this time. There will be opening once everyone catches up to the pace car. Huge, huge, huge moment there. There is the pace car down the back straightaway. The race leaders have caught up. Rex Riley, as you saw there, going through on the lead lap firmly, will be at the back of the field just by having to catch up to the field here under this caution lap. But a huge move there. Velicevic with the spin, losing several spots, but Velicevic still rolling on track here. Dropped down behind Katrina Ochoa. There's Petrovic, who is now 2 laps down. The leaders will come down pit lane this time. And this is where it gets really interesting. Lap cars do not get to pit this lap. That includes Kamaya. Very interesting how everyone's really come down pit lane here. I see a huge mingling. Ooh. Really close fight there on pit lane. Ishibashi stays ahead of the 96 of Kovalkiewicz. See Petrovic, there's Ochoa, there's Kamaya. I believe that is Lucero in the 88. And that Motorola machine, I would have to believe that would be. No, that's Mia Valdez. That is Valdez in the Embraer number 16 ahead of Porter. So Valdez will take the lead of this race, I do believe, over Porter. Von Sonnen a lap down, not in this fight. Then it's Ishibashi, then Kovalkiewicz, then Leckie top 5. Then you have Kinoshita, there's Rogers, Kozlov, and then I believe that was, yeah, there's the Motorola number 88 of Lucero, who is stuck a lap down in 29th place at the moment as things stand. Lundqvist in the 9th position, Glover up to 10th. Obviously with the leapfrog there of Velicevic, who lost spots. Jackson in 11th, Velicevic 12th, 13th Wyatt Jones, 14th Andrew Draco. Then it's Simona Leroux, Asada Quito, Elise Alexander, Matthias Michelin, Astrid Crane, Keisha Fox, Maria Damata, Esther Hobson, Natalia Kurachenko. There is Kage Kobayashi. There is the 72 of Rex Riley. The pace car is heading into pit lane this time. We're going to have a very short and abbreviated caution. Allows a lot more racing to take place here. First caution of the afternoon for Natalia Velicevic. Pace car is in pit lane. Lap cars lead the way. It is Mia Valdez that leads the race. Coming across our finish here. Green flag is in the air. Here we go. And Porter wasting no time going after the race leader into turn 1. And Porter goes for the race lead and gets it. Eva Porter leads the race here in Portland. Longest winless drought for active drivers in the field. But Valdez also wants a chance at the race win. Valdez has not won a Champ Car race in 9 years. But also has not raced until this year. So the winless gap is a lot smaller in terms of the amount of races that's been spent. Porter's not won a Champ Car race since 2016. That was in the Lausitz ring. And they're still side by side, held up by lap traffic. Almost contact, and Valdez forces her way through. Valdez to the front of the field. Porter defending from Ishibashi. Ishibashi having to defend from the lap traffic of Von Soden. It's popping off big time here. Valdez leads the race once again over Porter. This time with a little bit of a window, trying to get around the 36 of Katrina Ochoa. Big moves potentially between Ishibashi and Lechty. Lechty in the 78 trying to get around the second Cat Devil Racing machine, approaching the hairpin here. And whoa, look at that surge to the inside lane. Ishibashi overdrove. Lechty made that position work. Lechty get around Von Soden as well. Lechty up to the top 3. And those two continue their fight from Toronto. Ishibashi now in 4th. Kovalkiewicz in 5th. Kozlov in 6th, ahead of Rogers. Kenosha's been leapfrogged by Rogers and by Lundqvist. Velicevic back into the top 10, got around BK Glover. But whoa, big wobble there. Whoa, huge trouble. That is the 17 of Ishibashi. I believe that was Rogers and Lundqvist as well in trouble. In the first corner, once again, the caution flies again. And this is big for these 3. Big chance for Kobayashi to stay in the lead lap, as well as for Kamaya and Ochoa. Ochoa trying to defend from the race leader. It seems like Valdez will not pressure that situation too awful much. But the caution's out again. Here we go. And for Lechty, now this is a catbridge seat to try to go to the race lead. Caution flies for the second time today. And we will cross the halfway point of this race under yellow. And the rest of the field will go through. Ishibashi with a huge amount of trouble here in Portland. And we have to really take a look at what happened here in this fight. This is what happened in the turn 1 that drew out the caution. You're trying to get around Von Soden. Oh, and it starts with Porter. It really starts with Porter, Von Soden, and Ishibashi tag the tire barrier, marking the turn 1 entry. But it starts with Porter, who cooked it in a little bit too hot. Look at what happened to Porter here, trying to go after Valdez. And just really tried to send it there on the inside lane. That's how Lechty got to second place. Back to live action here, back to live pictures. Huge moves here. For Porter's, for the sake of the conversation, Porter only dropped a couple spots there. Lost a spot to Lechty and to Kovalkiewicz. Obviously, the logjam helped out Porter significantly. Porter in the 4th position, no damage to that 81 machine. And everyone's going to come down pit lane here to cross the halfway mark. First half of the race will be completed at the start-finish line. And there they go, cross it now. Tight big boxes here. Lefty out of pit lane, as is Valdez. That's the race off pit lane. Kovalkiewicz 3rd, Porter in 4th, as things were. Huge turnaround there. Just about the entire field came down pit lane that time. It'll be Mia Valdez that leads the way now. Everyone on equal footing on tires. Obviously, some drivers stayed out there before on the older tires there because the pit stop window had really kind of just opened up when that first caution came out. Second caution allows everyone to get back on equal footing here. So it's Valdez, then it's Lechty, then Kovacevic, then Porter, top four. So the fight continues on in full force here. Pace car pulls into pit lane. It is Valdez, then Lechty, leading the field back to green from the second restart of the race. Line astern the cars. Back to green flag racing. Here we go from the blimp cam. Really good look at going into turn one, but here we go. Porter defending from Kozlov, defends well. But here comes Kozlov on the counterattack. Into turn three. Kozlov trying to get around Porter, who seemed to have handling issues on that last run. Can Kozlov go to fourth? The answer to that question seems pretty well no. Porter with the right advantage here. And now trying to go after Kovacevic. Immediately trying to get back into the podium places. Porter defends once again from Kozlov on the exit of that second hairpin. Lechty wanted to go after the race lead, but Valdez got a really good launch. So here we go once more. Going through the hairpin here. Caution's out for the third time of this race, which is why everyone's coming down to a slow crawl here. See if we can figure out what happened here. Draw yet another caution in this race. But here we go. So we'll step aside here for the third caution of the race here in Portland. getting ready to go back green here in Portland. Not a lot of the leaders came down pit lane that time. A lot of those that came down were already in the back of the field, with the exception of Thomas Rogers making an alternate strategy call there. Rogers falls down to the 22nd position. Most everyone else staying put where they were. Mia Valdez, Nicole Leckie, and Alicia Kovalkiewicz will lead the field to green once more. And the green flag flies once again. Porter trying to make a move immediately there on the 96 of Kovalkiewicz into turn one. Makes it work that time. Didn't work the first time. It does now. Top five secured by Artyom Kozlov as things currently run. Lucero, the first car off the lead lap, sitting in 28th in front of the reigning world champion, Kuni Kinoshita. Then you have Wyatt Jones. Wyatt Jones up to 7th with the melee that has ensued over the last couple of cautions. Then there's Cameron Jackson. 3 wide fight. That is Sakura Ishibashi trying to get around the 13 and the 11. It did not work. And now there's Astrid Crane in on the fight. So Ishibashi's fallen far from grace here so far in this race that has seen caution after caution after caution at the halfway point. In the turn one this time, everyone gets their way through. Almost contact there between Alexander and Vilicevic, but everyone makes it through. Now back underway in full. Riders really mired down the order here. Valdez continues to lead for Cat Devil Racing, looking for her first win since the 2014 season. 9 years. Valdez won the championship in 2014, went on to the International Endurance Championship, racing for Porsche. Became a 2-time Endurance World Champion for Porsche. Now back in Champ Car World Series competition, leading her team's biggest threat to the championship, Nicole Leckie. Leckie with Red Bull Highlight Racing, the team that her mother raced for her entire career, the Swiss-based team. The Iron Maiden sitting second place at the moment, not only in the championship, but in this race as things currently stand. Kenosha sitting in the 6th position at the moment. If the race ended here, it is a dramatically close championship fight with 5 races to go. Gap goes from 20 to 8 points. Kenosha's advantage shrinking dramatically in the second half of this season. Reminder that this is the depths of the championship fight that we have not seen in a couple years. Obviously, the global pandemic put everything to a halt last year. Really slowed everything down. So Kenosha, who was leading at the halfway point of the championship, was the champion, but didn't have to go beyond those 10 rounds. Now we're 15 rounds in. This is the 15th race of the season. We're seeing the full ebb and flow of a championship fight. This is what Leckie was not able to show last year. Remember, Leckie was also in that championship fight. Won races at Texas last year as well. So Leckie firmly in control right now of her own destiny. Rogers sitting in 4th place at the moment as things stand, just a race away from Kenosha. But if the race ended right now, Rogers is down in 26th. A huge blow to Rogers if things continue as they currently are. A gamble there for Rogers, making a late pit stop there. I think really trying to go this race on just one more stop. Everyone else has 2. Rogers really trying to cement himself in a 1 more stop strategy to really make his way back to the front of the field. But he's deep in traffic at the moment. Lefty center of your screen, that orange and white TE connectivity machine. It hasn't really been able to touch Valdez, but Valdez hasn't been the concern. Porter, Kovalkiewicz, Kozlov, Kinoshita, Jones, they are. And right now, Kinoshita dealing with Kozlov and with Kovalkiewicz, dealing with the threat from Wyatt Jones. As green flag laps once again begin to bundle up here. There's Wyatt Jones in the 25 machine, sitting in the 7th position. One of his best road course performances outside of Monza. Monza, he got the lead his first laps on a road course. Fuel mileage did not go his way there in Italy. But so far, things working out pretty well for the 25 car here today. Not a race-leading performance by Wyatt Jones. A lot of race still to go, though, and he is still battling with the reigning world champion. Of course, for those unfamiliar, Wyatt Jones, a 3-time NAMRA Cup Series champion. Won all the crown jewels there in the NAMRA Cup Series competition. Now coming over in his rookie season in the Champ Car World Series. For Lubbock Motorsports, will be one of the several teams headlining the Ford program next year, as Ford replaces Alpine as an engine supplier in the World Championship and in the Challenger Series, the National Championship next year. That'll be Chevrolet, Ford, Honda, and Toyota, the 4 manufacturers in Champ Car next year. Wyatt Jones has learned a lot from the Atomic Autosport Group. The two teams developed a relationship this year, and it's immediately started paying dividends for Wyatt Jones on road courses, learning from Evangeline Porter and from Ty Kurachenko. Wyatt Jones, although experienced and a veteran compared to both of them in terms of the years spent on the track, a rookie to this compared to Porter, who's been in this series since the 2013 season. Excuse me, since 2012, I should say. And Vulicevic, who came over from Europe, where road course racing is the norm. Only a couple ovals in Europe, Rockingham over in the UK and the Lausitzring over in Germany, the two headlining ovals. Then you have Calder Park over in Australia and Motegi in Japan. A couple more of the prominent international ovals. Vulicevic, until she jumped into Champ Car competition, had never raced on an oval. Her first win came on an oval, came at Homestead. So how much that she has progressed and developed as the season has gone on. Vulicevic struggling here a little bit today, but not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. There's Vulicevic taking on Ishibashi. They're both just outside the top 10. Vulicevic losing 11th to Ishibashi. Asher Crane up to 10th. Crane spent a lot of the early half of this race in the 20th position, so immediately a 10-spot difference there for Crane, who really has benefited from some of the chaos that's gone on around her and in front of her. Now it's a matter of holding on to it for the next 40 laps. And that is a very interesting question that needs to be answered here, because Ishibashi, we know the pace of Ishibashi, we know the pace of Vulicevic. Crane had a lot of early pace this season, but has fallen off pretty dramatically as the season has really kind of gone on and developed. Ishibashi, obviously the pole sitter of this race, trying to get back there into the top 10. Looking at Kenosha right now, trying to get around the 88 that is of Bianca Lucero, the lap down machine. Really frustrating the reigning world champion, who's not going to have really nice words to say after this race if this continues, because it's really held Kenosha from late challenge for the top 5 with Kozlov and Kovalkiewicz. Kenosha spent most of the first half of this race ahead of Kozlov here. So now to be held back from really battling to get that top 5 position back is going to be a huge concern, especially with the likes of Lecty sitting second place right now in the race. The pressure beginning to ramp up here as this race progresses on and as the season progresses into its final rounds. Wyatt Jones looking for a really good result so far, right now has it. But obviously the question is, can you hold on to it for the second half of this race? That is a very hard question to answer. Also, another hard question to answer is, can Evangeline Porter hold off Alicia Kovalkiewicz for a podium here in Portland? We'll talk about the importance of this. Not only is it important for Kenosha in terms of the championship battle, Kenosha lives just outside of Portland. I said just outside of Portland. Tacoma, Washington's not that close to Portland, but not that far away either. This is as close to a home race as you can get without going to Vancouver over in British Columbia, Canada. So for Kenosha, this race was of very critical importance on a personal level. And so far, not really even be able to fight for this top 5, where you're seeing right here 3rd, 4th, and 5th on your screen. Porter holding off Kovalkiewicz and Kozlov. Really interesting fight here, but it's all miles away. Valdez is open by almost 6-second gap over Lechty. Lechty just managing the pace here at the front of the field. Knowing right now, really good opportunity to really put in some points on the championship. Again, for Lechty, her future's in her control. It's a 20-point gap. It drops down to 8 points if things hold. Obviously, another pit stop, maybe 2 pit stops in this race to really sort of swing that back and forth. That pendulum's going to probably be a little bit wild to follow along with. But Lechty's had a really good few races at Pocono and at Toronto to really bring this field back together. It looks like that is was that the yellow flag being out? It was not. It was just a glare on the one of the lights there on the front straightaway. That would have been a huge concern, because that would have really taken the strategy call out of it for a lot of the drivers. It would have been very easy to just stop, have one more pit stop to make there about lap 80, and then be done. It was not the case though now. Porter holds on to 3rd place ahead of Kovalkiewicz, but just in this fight. And these top 5 are really kind of broken away from Kinoshita and Wyatt Jones, who still is being frustrated by Bianca Lucero. Lucero sitting there in the first car, a lap down in 28th. Petrovic a lap down as well as Von Sonen, who is now in 30th and last. But all 30 cars, importantly, still running in this race. Lap leaders as they run. Kovalkiewicz the most laps led at 43. Valdez is now led. This will be 20 laps led for Valdez. A couple laps led as well, I believe, for Ishibashi early on in this race. I have to double check here just to make sure that is 2 laps led for Ishibashi. That was under the first caution period, I should say, when Ishibashi got that lead just before they crossed the line for the caution. Again, looking at Kenosha, this is 6th and 7th, as well as 28th on your screen. And they're really trying to close back in on the top 5 there. You can still see them not too far out of reach yet. About 4 seconds is the gap. But Kenosha really trying to hound and harass Lucero into really either getting out of the way or stepping up the pace and catching back up to those group, battling for the podium. Jackson in 8th, Alexander in 9th, Crane in the 10th position still, ahead of Ishibashi. See some grass getting kicked up there in that last couple corners there. Surprised we haven't seen more of that today. Usually drivers really try to abuse the curbing and that extra little bit of tarmac runoff there. They'll clip the grass just a little bit beyond that curbing, kick up some grass, kick up some dirt. I guess we're seeing it a lot more now because drivers are really pushing to make up some time here. Obviously, with how this race has progressed, some drivers not where they want to be. Thomas Rogers, one of those drivers who's been kicking up the grass a lot based off the live timing. 25th place so far, has not really been able to move ahead of Ochoa or Lundqvist. Lundqvist and other drivers shuffled backwards, as well as BK Glover. They made a bold strategy call, trying to go on one more pit stop, whereas the leaders have 2. In theory, that paper idea works of just making one more pit stop. But doing the paper math here and just looking at the stats, that makes sense. However, Rogers is now 37 seconds behind the race leader. You lose almost a lap on pit lane. But there's a chance that really the race leaders can open up a window, a minute gap on Rogers here and avoid that second stop. Because Rogers, even without that singular stop, still has traffic to deal with. And he's not handling it well. Neither is Kenosha, but Kenosha is a lot higher up the pitch. Kenosha sitting in the 6th position, 6th place on the timing screen. Again, it's all about the battle between Kenosha and Lechty in these last 5 races, and anyone can really insert themselves into that. Ishibashi right now outside the top 10, just sitting in 3rd in points. You see at the bottom of your screen there, Ishibashi will open the gap up to Rogers, but will lose to Kenosha. Vilicevic sitting there in the 5th position as well will also lose points there to Kenosha. Kenosha sitting ahead of all 3 of those drivers. As Kozlov will gain some points back but just 2. Kozlov needing a little bit more luck here over the next 5 races after today. Same with Porter. But Porter, sitting 3rd place, will gain a decent chunk of those points back as things run. Porter trying to stay in the top 7. Should do so with that 3rd place position so far. The issue is whether or not she can stay ahead of Kovalevich and Kozlov on these next couple pit stop sequences. We're on lap 69. Things are not so nice for Kenosha. We keep following, trying to really pressure and hound Bianca Lucero, who is not on the lead lap. Kozlov beginning to lose touch there with Kovalevich and with Porter. Down the back straightaway here. Porter and Kovalevich battling for the 3rd place still. Kozlov in position to really kind of take advantage if they mess up. As we've seen Porter do already this race. Had an issue there in turn 1 near the halfway point of this race. Trying to avoid making that mistake again. All 30 cars still running in this race, expecting pit stops here soon for the race leaders between the next 2 laps. 2 or 3 laps, I should say. So pit stops imminent for the race leaders. There is Lechty in 2nd place. There is Von Sonnen, who is now 2 laps down in this race. There is Mia Valdez, your race leader, the number 16 Embraer Honda for Cat Devil Racing. They've been put on a storm in this race as things have run. See, Ishibashi won the last 2 races in Toronto. Kenosha's won 6 races this season already. Valdez trying to do what Valerie Fang, the previous driver of that 16, could not, and that is get to victory lane. Veteran experience playing out in droves. But as leading the way, you saw pit stops there. That was Kurachenko that just came out of pit lane. I believe Kurachenko, Kobayashi, and Alexander all came down pit lane. I believe Cameron Jackson's coming down pit lane as well. Cameron Jackson and Esther Hobson, so most of the Dragon Motorsports team in pit lane, and as is the race leader. So as we expected, the race leader in before lap 73 and before lap 72. Lechty stays out another lap. So Lechty will take over the lead of this race. Issue for Hobson actually is an accident. Something's happened to Hobson off track. There's no caution for it, but Hobson's race is over. Single car incident there for Esther Hobson. Out of this race now firmly. And there is Lechty in the lead of the race now officially. First lap led for Lechty, gets the bonus point for that. Very important as you start talking about the difference of less than 10 points, the gap at the top of the board for the points championship. World Championship beginning to be determined by the tightest of margins. It's been some outstanding championship fights here as this campaign's gone along. Lechty in pit lane. Looks like Kovalevich stays out an extra lap, so Kovalevich gets back to the race lead. Kovalevich almost assuredly will not will have the bonus points for most laps led. This is her 44th lap led. Out of 100 laps, almost half the race belongs already to Kovalevich. Valdez has led 25 laps, Lechty's led 1, Ishibashi's led 2. So just a handful of laps more, and Kovalevich can really just kind of lock that up. Right now, stuck behind Rex Riley. There's Artem Kozlov just behind as well as this goes on more and more. Wyatt Jones provisionally up to third, stayed out while Kenosha came in. With the pit stop window, the closer you get to 75, the better you could be. However, it's a matter of also making a 25-lap run at the end of this race, which I don't think a lot of these drivers can do, if any of them. None of them really came close except for a couple, and they're not in the front of the field so far. Kovalkiewicz stays out another lap, though. Maybe. Kovalkiewicz says, maybe. Stays out here. So does Kozlov. Interestingly enough, Kozlov also staying out of pit lane there. So we'll see where everyone sits here as things run. A couple cars laps down. Wyatt Jones stays out as well. That's interesting, as does Crane. And I believe that might be, that is Ishibashi staying out as well. Ishibashi came in later, though. That is a very important part of the conversation. Ishibashi came in later than these top four. That is a very critical note there. So Ishibashi can go beyond 75. The issue is if Ishibashi can make it to about lap 80 and really just secure that one more stop strategy. I think arguably you can, as long as you can make it to about lap 78, you're good. However, the closer you get to 80, the better. That's the big question there. So Ishibashi set to potentially get back to the race lead if things continue as they are. Kovalkiewicz stays out once more, as does Valdez. Not Valdez, that was Kozlov. My apologies there. Wyatt Jones stayed out as well. So this very interesting to see how this is really playing out here. We are on now. We should be ticking over to lap 75 here. I'm not sure if the leaderboard has updated that yet. Now it has. There you go. Now we're on 75. Now we're coming to 25 laps to go. A lot of fuel saving will be needed if you do try to pit here. You need at least a couple laps of fuel saving. That's easier said than done on a track as quick as Portland International Raceway. Does Kovalkiewicz come in this time and really seal the deal with 25 laps to go? She does. And so does Kozlov. Does Wyatt Jones come in? Yes, he does. Staying right there. Does Crane come in pit lane? Yes. Ishibashi stays out. And in comes Velicevic as well. This is where it helps out Ishibashi. Ishibashi, the first of those that can go a little bit longer here. Ishibashi did not lead that lap because Kovalkiewicz crossed our finish line to get through her box. So Ishibashi will try to lead the next lap here. Kovalkiewicz has led 47 laps in this race. Again, once she either gets, actually I believe she's got the most laps led no matter what here because of the laps led by Ishibashi and by Lechty earlier in this race. Looking here, actually if Ishibashi leads one... Ishibashi could lead a couple more laps here. I have my math a little bit wrong there. Kovalkiewicz, the 3 laps that have been led takes out of Kovalkiewicz's optimal pot right there. With Valdez leading 25 laps. Here comes Ishibashi here. Valdez could lead every other lap of this race and get back to the front of the field. There's Valdez now. But again, Valdez has another pit stop to make. So Valdez gets back to the lead of this race, comfortably so. With the laps ticking down, we're on lap 77 in this event. Valdez leads the way with one more pit stop to make here in the last 10 laps of this race. Valdez leads. As we browse and bruise on further back, there is the battle for second place that is now raging on between Lechty and Porter. Second and third here on your screen. And this could be a really good battle here. Here comes Porter to the inside of Lechty. The Sniper and the Iron Maiden going after it for second place right now on the track, but they all have a pit stop to make. The first driver that can make it without another pit stop would be Sakura Ishibashi. It seems like most of the field that did make that extra pit stop to try to close off a pit stop have come back down pit lane anyway. Looking at Riley, Glover, Lundqvist, Ochoa, Rogers, they came down pit lane again anyway. So there could be some significant trouble for those behind the field because they didn't have a chance to really gain time on the race leaders. So now they're pinned. And for Rogers, that is a disaster. Ishibashi tried going out longer. Again, for Ishibashi, just trying to minimize damage as well as a huge ordeal there. There is Lechty, there is Porter. Then you have Kovalkiewicz. Then there is Kozlov, and then there's Kenosha. There's Wyatt Jones still in a good spot there. They all got ahead of Bianca Lucero, importantly. Then you have Alexander. I believe you're looking at, that is Kurachenko, who is now firmly in the top 10 ahead of Astor Crane. Leroux, Draco, Velisevich, Keto, and Ishibashi continuing to fall backwards here. There's Ishibashi firmly down the order. Stayed out way too long. Lost way too much time. Here we go. Alexander trying to take on Von Sonen. Whoa, and Von Sonen gets clear, but a huge issue for Alexander, who gives up a spot to Kurachenko. Teammates there for Striker Motorsports. So they'll swap, looks like 8th and 9th, respectively there. But two Striker cars in the top 10, and there goes Kurachenko down the front straightaway around Von Sonen. Alexander sends it to turn 1, trying to find a way around the 76. It was not okay. And we'll have to send it through turn 3. Alexander getting impatient, looking at everyone behind, looking at a Crane, looking at Leroux. Here we go. 3 wide, maybe. No, yes. 3 wide there. And Crane will be the one to gain the most out of it. So Crane puts Alexander down to 10. And a gesture there by Alexander to Von Sonen. Alexander, the American sophomore driver, not happy with the Austrian. But we stay racing here. Coming to 20 laps to go. Valdez leads the way comfortably. But behind it is Bedlam. Again, keep an eye on Ishibashi. Ishibashi has the ability, if she saves enough fuel, to cut out a stop. That's the big question mark. Can Ishibashi save enough fuel? She needs to save a little bit. .20 laps to go now. Valdez leads Lechty and Porter. Looking at Alexander, who's finally gotten around firmly, the 76 of Kozlov. Looking at this battle for second place, still raging on. 2 Chevrolet-equipped teams, but that's going to change next year because Atomic Autosports, one of the teams moving to Ford. Trying to find a way around her from her protege, Nicole Lechty. Despite the fact that Lechty's a little bit older than Porter. Lechty came over from Formula 2 back in 2017 to join Black Rose Racing when Porter was still a part of the series as well. Porter trained Lechty. Lechty got her first win at Watkins Glen in 2018 in her second year in the sport. Lechty's gone on to have a very successful career of her own. Porter trying to find some success on her own once more. Lechty 29 years of age, Porter 28. So the future's still very bright for these drivers right now on your screen, as it is for Kovalkiewicz, who signed a 3-year deal to stay with Arrowhead Racing going in through the 2026 season. So Kozlov finding long-term success and long-term viability after returning from a very scary crash at the Lausitz Ring back in 2020. Caution's out. We saw the lights there at the last corner. There is Kobayashi getting around the pace car, the Chevy Camaro Z01 pace car, and it'll group the field back together, and Valdez's lead of over 18 seconds is erased. Huge moment there. They're saying debris. Debris in the final sector. Probably the grass or some of the maybe the curb has fallen apart there a little bit because they keep hopping over it. We'll have to take a look here once we get through it. But debris bringing out the 4th yellow of the day. But this will be a short yellow, as we've seen, a couple laps per caution here at Portland. We get to see that here. One car out of the race, Esther Hofson out. This is not related to that. Von Sonen, Petrovic, Lucero, and Kobayashi. The bottom 4 running. Kobayashi on lead lap. We saw him stay on lead lap there. Lucero, Petrovic, and Von Sonen. Von Sonen 2 laps down after being wounded under one of the cautions earlier in this race. And this really hurts. This really hurts Ishibashi, who was hoping that this race went green to the end. There was a strategy call there for fuel mileage that Ishibashi could have really pounced on to get 3 races in a row. Now that seems a lot harder to do with Ishibashi sitting not only outside the top 10, but in 15th position, the pole sitter, not having this race really go her way. Did Kovalkiewicz just stay out? Wow. Wow, wow. That's a really interesting move by Kovalkiewicz. Wow. This is interesting because the fuel mileage does help out Kovalkiewicz a little bit. The time spent under yellow here really does help out Kovalkiewicz a ton. This makes sense. This makes sense. You're saving enough fuel to not have to worry about the track position game. You just stay out. That's exactly what Kovalkiewicz just did. Kovalkiewicz, and Kovalkiewicz isn't alone in this because Kozlov stayed out too. And I believe so did Wyatt Jones. So Wyatt Jones feeling deja vu here with this move. But again, they're not alone. There's so many cars that are in this space now. Valdez, Kovalkiewicz, Kozlov, Jones. I believe that might have been Velisevich sitting there as well. We'll have to take a look here. Yeah, there's Kovalkiewicz, there's Ishibashi, who we know was good to go. There's Glover, there's Lundqvist. I believe that's Petrovic, who is not on the lead lap. Then you have Rogers, there's Fox. A lot of drivers taking a gamble here that fuel mileage is good enough to make it to the end of this race with the laps we have left to go in it. And the light has come off on the pace car, so we are going green at the end of this lap with 16 laps to go. Very critical. Critical calls made here on the 4th caution of the day. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Here we go. It'll be Kovalkiewicz, Kozlov, Jones, top 3, Velisevich, Ishibashi, top 5. Kovalkiewicz will lead the most laps of this race, so a guaranteed 2 more bonus points there for Kovalkiewicz. This is going to be very interesting. This could be either magic or misery at the front of the field. Coming to 16 laps to go. Fast lap of the race set by Kunik Kinoshita, a 101.425. 29 cars still running. It is on Kovalkiewicz at the front of the field. Green flag in the air once more. Here we go. Kovalevich stays clear of Kozlov. Very important in this fight. Ishibashi tried to get around Vulicevic. That did not work. Now having to defend from her former teammate in Glover. This is for the top 5 as things currently run, and there is pandemonium further down the order as Valdez now has to try to deal with the traffic. There's Valdez. There's Lechty. There's Porter. The bedlam is here. There's Kenosha also in this threat. Here we go. Kenosha on Porter looking at her main rival in the championship in front of her. Can Kenosha get clear of Porter? On the back straightaway. They're still side by side, the 81 and the 18. Who's got the advantage? Kenosha does, entering the final couple corners. Here we go. No! That was close. And now Kenosha trying to stay ahead of Lucero. She will, but just. Kenosha being fought hard by Porter, who is also in that championship fight, 7th in the points at the moment as things stand. So a very important fight going on here. Up and down the field, 15 to go. Well, who's going to win this one? Valdez trying to make some inroads here. That's Keisha Fox ahead of her. I think that's Keisha Fox. That's, I believe that is the 21 of Petrovic. It is 21 of Petrovic. She was stuck a lap down in this race in the 27th position. Keisha Fox looking to try to make a move around. Knows that Valdez is back on her gearbox here. And there goes Valdez. Without a doubt. Oh, jeez. Porter had a chance. No, sorry, that's Kenosha had a chance to really go after the 78 of Lechty, but couldn't get there. Porter's somehow gotten around Lechty here in this fight. In the midfield now, very intense all of a sudden. Guess traffic is the be-all, end-all to managing it. Valdez got around Keisha Fox, now trying to get around Petrovic here. Valdez sitting right now in the 9th position. There's 8 cars between her and a victory for the first time since 2014. There's Lundqvist. A little bit off the pace here. Leader of this race is Kovalevich. Look at Wyatt Jones looking for a first podium. Can he hold on to it? Very interesting questions here to ask. Coming to 13 laps to go here. Kovalevich over Kozlov, over Jones, over Vulicevic, over Ishibashi. You want to talk about throwing this race upside down? Imagine a caution here in the next 3 laps. Really throwing this thing for a whirl. At this point, do you hope for another caution to really sort of secure the balance? Or are you hoping that it stays green? Are you hoping that the genius plan works? Giant question here to have answered over what will be the next 12 laps of this race coming to the start-finish line. Coming to 12 to go. With Jones holding on to 3rd place, losing touch a little bit there with Kozlov. The question is over fuel economy. Can they make it? Ishibashi, we know, was good. Now, firmly good. How about the 4 in front of her right now? With Vulicevic, with Jones, center of your screen, with Kozlov, and with Kovalevich, were they good to go? They pit at the end of 75. They were able to save a couple laps of fuel under that caution, but was that sincerely enough to get them to the end of this race? 8 drivers, really 9 drivers, took that bet. Keisha Fox didn't have the pace to really hold on and stay ahead of Valdez, who got a free pit stop with tires there. But for those sitting in the top 5 right now, there's enough of a cushion, enough padding to go after this. Cameron Jackson's day went from bad to worse. A drive-through penalty. Too fast exiting pit lane. So he is now down in the 26th position after that speeding penalty. 11 laps to go here. We're on lap 90. Once the leaderboard takes over, there you go. Leaderboard takes over to lap 90 here. Kovalkiewicz leads by 4.6 seconds. Kovalkiewicz, she knows she's good or she knows she's not. Because there is nothing but pace in the 96 car right now. Really opening up and really just expanding the gap there. Valdez has gotten to the tail of Lundqvist in this fight here. And there you see it. There's Valdez right there with Lundqvist. Valdez having to pick cars off one by one as they run. Valdez in 9th, Fox in the top 10 as things run. But it's a very distant 10th, it feels like. There's Porter in 11th. Then there's Lechty, then there's Kinoshita. And you want to talk about damage limitation for Kinoshita. This could have been a really bad swing. This could have been an easy going from 20 points to less than 10. Now it's a 1-point deficit with Lechty just in front. That is huge. Now again, this was the championship fight we didn't really get to see last year. Now we do. There's Kurichenko in the 84 trying to make some inroads in this fight. And Kenosha once again has to spend her time devoted to something else other than fighting Nicole Lechty. Kurichenko now being the next challenger there for Kenosha. And that is 14th and 15th. Lechty in 13th. Really huge fight there, and that is Lechty trying to get around. I believe that is... Trying to see who that is. It looks like that is Petrovic at the moment. And that is Kobayashi. No, I believe that's Kobayashi, I believe, actually. That is Kobayashi. Because Kobayashi was on that lead lap group. He stayed out too. Well, there's two Micro Center cars for Vontae Racing. They look similar. Kobayashi's got the white wings. Petrovic has the bluish wings. Whoa! Kurichenko almost turned him around, though, in turn one. Kurichenko not happy to be stuck behind Kobayashi there. Because it's really separated Kurichenko from Kinoshita. There's Petrovic. You talk about the difference in those two cars. Petrovic has the blue rear wing that's very different there from Kobayashi's car. Valdez has not been able to get around Siri Lundqvist. Very interesting how that has turned around here. How different this race has become as a result of that. It was a track position game that got us to this point. Kovalkiewicz leads by 5.7 seconds. We are at 8 laps to go officially. It is Kovalkiewicz, Kozlov, and Jones, your top three. Looking at second and third in that battle just behind them on your screen right now. Kovalkiewicz looking for her second win in 2023 after winning at Chicagoland. Kozlov looking for another win to really sort of pair along with her Indy 500 win. Kozlov, they've been doing a fantastic job just sort of keeping themselves in this fight so far, staying ahead of Wyatt Jones. Again, they had that Indy 500 win in May, but it's been really an interesting underlying season for Kozlov, who has voiced their frustration a little bit as the caution's out again. Caution's out once more. Cameron Jackson gets bailed out. I'm not seeing a very obvious cause for this caution on track here, but you see the skid marks there from earlier. As they go through here, you see the skid marks in there from earlier. That was an earlier caution with Porter and Von Soren and Ishibashi. So the 5th caution of the race. Oh dear. If they weren't good to go before, they are now. They have to be. But that also means we're going green with 5 laps to go. 5th caution of the race here on lap 94. We'll be going green with 5 laps to go, based on the indication we've seen earlier so far. It is Kovacevic, Kozlov, Jones, Velicevic, Ishibashi, and the issue is Alexander. Alexander came to a spin in turn 1. And they stay out. Very intriguingly, they stay out. You want to talk about solidifying the thought process? There you go. So we're going green at the end of this lap with 5 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line. Kovacevic leads over Kozlov, over Wyatt Jones, over Natalia Velicevic, over Sakura Ishibashi, BK Glover, Thomas Rogers, Mia Valdez, Siri Lundquist, and Keisha Fox. The top 10. Valdez has moved up to the 8th spot. Huge fight still to come over these next 5 laps, and this could get wild. This could get very, very wild. Last sector of the racetrack, 29 cars still running. Only retirement was Esther Hofson 24 laps ago, just after the lap 70 mark. Here we go. Pace car is in. And the green flag is back in the air, and away we go. Top 4, line astern. Wyatt Jones trying to make a move on Kozlov. It did not work, but everyone trying to pounce. Fox around Lundquist. Porter trying to get into the top 10 as well. Looks to the inside of Lundquist. Lundquist in the outside lane. There's the 21. Holding up Kinoshita. Everyone makes their way through the first hairpin. The leaders now down the back straight away. This is Velicevic's best chance to go after a podium potentially. Vulisevich tried to go for third place. It did not work there. Wyatt Jones on the drag race down the front straightaway has third pretty comfortably now. There is Sakura Ishibashi ahead of BK Glover looking for a good result at the moment as things stand. 4 laps to go. Then there's Rogers, and then there is Mia Valdez. Valdez in the 8th spot. There is Siri Lundqvist. And then there's Keisha Fox being passed by Eva Porter. Eva Porter in that top 10 now. Then it's behind Keisha Fox. Then you have Nicole Lechty. There's Natalia Kurchenko, who's gone ahead of Kuni Kinoshita. Then there's Kobayashi. There's a lap down car of Lucero. Side-by-side battle. Crane goes off the grass. Off the circuit. Alexander just forced her wide, and in the wall hard goes Crane. Crane still on track. No caution. But in the wall hard, battling with Elise Alexander. Huge trouble for the 80 of Astrid Crane and Good Smile Rosgreaves. A caution now would end the race. They stayed green that time. Kozlov in 2nd place. They're ahead of Wyatt Jones, who is looking for his first podium in Champ Car competition. How topsy-turvy would it be to get a first podium in the series on a road course that he's never been to before? It's been a huge learning curve for Wyatt Jones, who now, coming to the start-finish line, sits 2 laps away from potential hardware for the first time in the Champ Car World Series. Crane leading pit lane now. How dejected can it be to watch the rest of the field go by and not be a part of it? Glover in 6th. Rogers 7th. 8th is Valdez. 9th is Lundqvist. 10th is Porter. Fox gets a little bit of breathing space between her and between Lechty is the 80 of Crane, who returns just to try to finish this race. Lechty trying to find her way around that 78 machine. First hairpin here. Meanwhile, Kinoshita battling with the 84 of Kurchenko. As they go back and forth here on the back straightaway now, and it favors the Russian driver. As it browsing peruse all the battles going on throughout the field, there is the Mata taking on Alexander now. Then there's LaRoe, there's Riley, there is Kamaya. Sorry, that wasn't Alexander. The first we were looking at, that was definitely not Alexander. This is Asada Kito. Alexander, who did have contact there with Crane. A little further down the order there. 2 laps to go. That is Andrew Draco, who has had issues, and that is the 11 Alexander. Is that caution out? It is not, because we're on the final lap. We are on the final lap, so the caution will not fly. But it would not matter anyway, because everyone has crossed our finish line. And they race back to the checkered flag. It's a 2nd win in 2023 out of the last corner. For Alicia Kovalkiewicz and Cherokee GP, Kovalkiewicz takes Portland. Keep the round of applause going for Artyom Kozlov. They finish 2nd ahead of Wyatt Jones, who gets his first podium in Champ Car competition. The Menards machine proves good luck for Wyatt Jones. The 3-time NAMR Cup Series champion finishes 3rd ahead of Natalia Vulisevich and Sakura Ishibashi, who finishes top 5 ahead of BK Glover and Thomas Rogers. Mia Valdez finishes 8th ahead of Siri Lundqvist and Evangeline Porter, who rounds out the top 10. Keisha Fox stayed ahead of Nicole Lechty. and Kinoshita could not get around Kurichenko. Those two gesturing to each other on the cool-down lap. Kobayashi, a good result there. 15th place for him. Edison Leroux. Maria Damata, who got around Asada Quito a little too late. Quito led at the line over Damata. Rex Rowley in the 19th position here. 20th belongs to Katrina Ochoa. Excuse me, to Kamaya. Ochoa finished in 21st. Cameron Jackson, after that speeding penalty, only having to be able to get 22nd. Andrew Draco, you see the damage on his car, 23rd. Alexander, 24th. 25th, Matthias Michelin. As everyone reaches Parc Fermé. Bianca Lucero, the first car, a lap down behind Asher Crane, who had that late incident in this race. Marcus Petrovic in 28th. Anastasius von Sonen in 29th. Esther Hobson, the only driver out of this race, in 30th. Talk about a huge swing in the championship with 5 races to go. Kovalkiewicz now firmly in this fight. Wyatt Jones, a first podium in Champ Car. And a lot of breakdown as we head next back towards the East Coast. We head over now as we leave this race with 5 races remaining. It's a short dash. And I say short dash, it's short in time frame, only a week away. Watkins Glen. 60 laps there in New York, then Denver after that. Then we spend the last couple races here. After we head back to Nazareth, we head to the Arasaka Arena in Night City. And then Auto Club Speedway ends off the season. Kovalkiewicz, Kozlov, and Jones, your podium here today. We're glad you could join us for an amazing race here at Portland. We'll see you in a week's time at Watkins Glen. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, have some fun in the week ahead. We'll see you in New York. On behalf of ABN Studios and ABN Sports, so long, everybody.